Stuart Immonen and Catherine Immonen make Russian olive to red king. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Thomas Pitilli. I'm a comic book artist and an illustrator. And Stuart Immonen is an artist that I have talked about on this channel before. I used to do a little series called Style Study, where I looked at artists who are very versatile in their approaches to making comics, using different styles to tell different types of stories. And Stuart Immonen is a great example of that. And so in this new video that I'm making about Stuart Immonen's work, I wanted to showcase that even further. One of the great examples of his versatility is showcased beautifully in this book, Russian Olive to Red King. This is a book that I've been wanting to check out for a really long time, and I'm glad I finally got my hands on it. It's a great combination of detail in line, but also a graphic simplification of comic art and storytelling. There's a really beautiful use of color in here as well. And on the surface, if you're just flipping through this book and looking at the artwork, or perhaps you see pages online, it's almost reminiscent of some of his like Marvel Comics work. There are some pages in here that kind of feel like it could come right out of one of his X-Men issues. But it's the storytelling and the pacing that is dramatically different. There are no superheroes to be found in this book. And it really seems like it's an exercise in telling a very different type of story. It's a very interesting book because it's a graphic novel, but it also has like real novel kind of elements to it. I would say about a quarter or more of the book is actually just written word. The graphic novel parts of it, though, are just so beautifully drawn. In a lot of ways, this is like peak Stuart Immonen art, for me at least. It blends just the right amount of like, I guess, mainstream superhero aesthetic blended with something that's a little bit more offbeat and, for lack of a better word, like artistic in tone. That sweet spot for his work, I think, is really on display in this book. It makes me sometimes wonder, who's the real Stuart Immonen? Is he the more like art house storyteller, more indie European kind of comic creator? Or is he the Superman, X-Men, Spider-Man powerhouse artist? And I think the answer to that might be that he's neither one. He actually really is an artist first and foremost, an artist that deeply understands the language of comic art. And because of that, is able to contribute greatly to whatever story is being told, whether it's a story about Clark Kent and Lois Lane, or in this instance, Olive and Red. I look at books like this from an artist like Stuart Immonen, who is a highly decorated Marvel, DC veteran comic book artist. I look at books like this as being like a passion project. It's an excuse for an artist like him to take his time, slow the pacing down, spend moments just drawing shots of the environment, think about page design and color in a different way, without having to compromise with the structure of a Marvel or DC comic or even their schedule and format. This is very much an artist utilizing moments and techniques that he might not be able to completely indulge in while working on a superhero comic or a monthly title. But the thing that I love about it is that it doesn't completely disregard the world that he comes from. There are notes of the Marvel Stuart Immonen style within these pages. And for me, an artist like Stuart Immonen, a lot of times when I'm looking at his X-Men art, for example, which is so amazingly drawn, I really tune into like the background characters and some of the more human, quieter scenes. I think he always does that stuff really well. Even growing up and reading his Superman comics, he did the more grounded storylines really well, just because I love the way he draws the figure and draws facial expressions and body language. And so looking at a book like this for me is great to see because it's all that stuff. If I had to use a word to describe this graphic novel, I would describe it as quiet. And I mean that in a complimentary way. There's a quiet kind of tone and a slow pacing to this story that feels intentional. It feels like a short film or a novella. It doesn't seem like it's meant to be an epic or a high budget, high concept kind of story. This is a very like poignant, quiet, emotional kind of story. And that really does come across in the way he draws the figures, the way he lights certain scenes. There's a back and forth to the nature of the narrative and the storytelling in this graphic novel. I don't want to really give away the whole story, but it goes back and forth between the guy character and the girl character. And they're both in very different environments, going through different struggles simultaneously, but both longing and missing one another. And so there's a sadness and again, like quietness to the overall story. And that really is like driven home through the artwork. I love the open line work too. It only goes so far in terms of rendering. There's very strategic black spotting. There's a complete lack of like over hatching and over rendering. But the character designs and the faces show so much expression with a simple amount of lines. Somehow he's able to create these very like simplified graphic atmospheres without it feeling like overly graphic and simplified, like a Frank Miller Sin City page or something like that. Trying to strike that balance between detail and some sort of graphic simplification of lines and objects and environments is a balance that I'm trying to strike within my own artwork. And I can tell you firsthand that it's a very difficult thing to do. And so seeing an artist like Stuart Immonen do it is very inspiring for me to look at. I love the character designs too. It's a very simple approach. There really is just two main characters here. And because it is such an emotional story, I feel as though he wants these characters to be able to emote very clearly without having to hide behind a lot of rendering or perhaps unnecessary lines and visual attributes. And I should say that there actually isn't only two characters in this book. There's a very obvious third character, which is the dog. I think any dog lover out there will love the dog in this graphic novel. The dog really is a big part of the story, and there's such like a believability to the way that he draws the dog's movements. It's not like animated in a Disney kind of way. It's very realistic. And there's all these little subtle looks that the dog gives, or the way the dog lays on the bed or tries to curl under the blankets. It's all very rooted in like realism. And I think anyone who's ever had a dog or been around a dog will know that this is like a very honest expression of a dog and their personality. There's a sequence where the main character is getting a phone call while in bed, and just the way that the dog is moving around him and trying to shimmy his way into the covers, and then turns himself around and pops his head out and then watches the guy while he's on the phone. It's a very like natural, real life moment, and it's paced in such a easy way to read. Comes across like it's moving in front of you. And it's one of the great illusions that a skilled comic artist and cartoonist is able to get across to the reader when they're looking at these panels on a page. And then I touched on it, but the coloring is just beautifully done. It's a very well thought out palette that divides itself between two different environments. And he's able to get across the idea that these characters are existing in two different worlds in a lot of ways through the colors themselves. There's a graphicness to the colors that almost makes it feel like it's a print or a poster in some pages. And it really complements the line work too. It's not overly assertive. It doesn't drown out the beautiful lines and the beautiful black spotting. But I would imagine that maybe Stuart Immonen has like a painting background or a real strong understanding of color, just the way he's using light and different tones and warms and cools throughout the book. Just flipping through it page by page, it's almost as though like the color itself is telling a story. So yeah, if you are a Stuart Immonen fan, I think you're gonna love this book. It's been out for a while now. I think this is like 11 years ago, maybe this came out. I definitely want to make some more videos in the future about Stuart Immonen's work. He's done so many amazing comic projects. It's hard to pick just one. I think that's why there'll probably be more than one video on its way. But again, this is Russian Olive to Red King. It's written by Catherine Immonen and drawn by Stuart Immonen. This comes from Ad House Books. It's not the easiest to find online, but if I could find a good place to pick it up, I'll put it in the description of this video. It says on the back here that this is a follow-up to Catherine and Stuart's Moving Pictures, which is another graphic novel of theirs that I've only seen online. I've seen pages online, and it looks like it is a completely different artist. It looks like it was done in a very different style. I'm pretty sure I touch on that a little bit in my style study video of Stuart's work, but it's just another really great example of his versatility and his ability to play with different styles and different approaches. But I'd be interested in picking that one up too and seeing how these two books relate, if they do relate in a literal way. But it would just be another excuse to look at Stuart's work and a completely different approach from his part visually. And it seems like him and Catherine work together really well. So maybe that's one that I pick up and showcase in a video upcoming. Let me know in the comments below if that's something you want to see. Also, let me know in the comments below what your favorite Stuart Immonen comic is. I don't know what he's up to these days in terms of comics. I think the last thing I saw him do was an Image comic. Let me know in the comments below if he's working on something now that I'm not familiar with that I should be checking out. Anyway, thanks so much for checking this video out. If you like the video, do hit that like button. If you're not subscribed to the channel and you watch these videos and you realize you're not subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button. There's so many channels that I watch on the regular and I don't realize that I'm not even subscribed to them. So make sure you double check and hit that subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. Also, if you want to help support the channel and you also want to see some more of my stuff, whether it's work that I'm working on, behind the scenes stuff, early access to videos like this, you can find all that stuff on my Patreon. Supporting the Patreon definitely helps me and some of my artistic endeavors, and it also helps this channel. It makes it so that I can hopefully keep making these videos on a regular basis. So yeah, if you're interested in checking that out, I will leave the link in the description of this video. Also, if you're an artist out there and you're looking for some feedback on your art, you want to get some professional eyes on your portfolio, I'm offering portfolio reviews. I'm all about giving honest, helpful feedback on your work and offering whatever knowledge I might have in terms of illustration and comic art, and trying to impart anything I can to hopefully accelerate and speed up your learning and improvement process within your own work. So if you're interested in any kind of portfolio review from me, I will also leave a link in the description where you can order one of those. And yeah, I think that's all I got for this video. As always, thanks so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.